Don't tell me faith and religion and morals are impractical. We haven't tried them, all right?
This is about the inability to see your neighbor who happens to be Jewish as an equal. I think if that were possible, we could have peace.
You know, we disagree on many things, but we don't have to hate. We don't have to harm one another.
Hinduism, to me, has been more of a lifestyle alongside the worship and the volunteering and the selfless service. It's really been a lifestyle of how I want to live my life.
I'm Sharon Crowley, and this is a Fox 5 special, Finding Faith. In a year that has seen so much conflict and turmoil, you may be asking yourself how to hold on to faith. In the next 30 minutes, we hope to inspire and motivate you. It's a conversation with some of the top faith leaders in our area.
Anybody who claims that our God justifies violence and bigotry and hatred is in blasphemy. Blasphemy.
There are some who can't accept the right of the Jewish people to live.
Islamophobia and anti-Semitism, for me, is just two sides of the same coin. It is a hate of others.
Finding faith in a world filled with diversity and division may seem like a challenging feat. Some of the most influential voices in religion insist without hope, there's no possibility for peace.
Way to go. Glad you're here.
Timothy Cardinal Dolan leads the Roman Catholic Archdiocese of New York.
I'm hopeful. And again, some people will say, you're not hopeful, you're naive. Will you give me an alternative, will you? What do you want as an alternative? You want me to go out and buy a repeating rifle to protect the cathedral? You want me to go out and buy some drugs to get through the night? You want me to go out and slug a couple people that are bothering me? No, if we don't have that hope and if we don't cling to that faith which Christmas embodies, I don't know what we got.
The war in the Middle East prompting a spike in both anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. These religious leaders now more motivated than ever to speak up and speak out.
What's impractical is what's going on in the world today, where we treat people like trash. Don't tell me faith and religion and morals are impractical. We haven't tried them, all right? Guns are impractical. Violence is impractical. Drugs are disastrous. War is always a tragedy. These are the things that don't work.
May the one who creates peace on high bring peace to us.
Rabbi Joseph Potasnik is the executive vice president of the New York Board of Rabbis.
I think sometimes we religious leaders have to do more, to be more outspoken when wrongs are committed against anyone, not just our own, but others as well.
He's also the son of Holocaust survivors.
I would divide the world into two groups, decency and indecency. And it's time for the decent to stand against the indecent.
Imam Shamsi Ali is the director of the Jamaica Muslim Center in Queens. He's considered a moderate Muslim who embraces coexisting with other religions. He rose to fame during 9/11 when he joined then President Bush to combat Islamophobia in the wake of the terror attacks on the Twin Towers.
So before looking into our own particularities as Muslims or Jews or Christians or Hindus and Buddhists, look at yourself as a human being. And look at the faces of those people. They are human beings and they want what you want. So treat them as you wanted to be treated.
Faith leaders preaching tolerance and coexistence in a changing world.
The great saints will always tell us that the secret of life is, of course, to recognize that struggle within and always make sure that we nurture the side of life and love and don't let that side of hate and raw bigotry ever take over.
We must put forward peace rather than conflict, unity rather than divisions, love rather than hatred. So that is actually the foundation of Islam.
We've always felt that not only do you pray for peace, that's important, but Jewish tradition teaches that you have to pursue peace. It's not enough to talk about it, you have to do it.
coming up.
The stones here sing, and everyone hears a different song.
Inside the largest Hindu temple in North America, and it just opened in New Jersey. Then,
You have experienced a miracle. You are healed.
the biblical mini-series that has millions tuning in. And later,
I give people hope, I guess, as Superman.
meet this real-life Superman, saving lives one meal at a time.
Welcome back. A sacred temple is welcoming people of all walks of life to experience Hindu culture and community. It's an architectural marvel that you really have to see to believe.
One of the largest Hindu temples outside of India just opened to the public in central New Jersey.
The stones here sing, and everyone hears a different song.
Oh, I think it's awesome. Magnificent, really. The statues, it looks like an ice palace inside. Gorgeous all over. The grounds are gorgeous. Everything is fantastic.
It was beautiful, yeah. We've been to many other mandirs, but I think this is on a really grand scale, and you're able to see a lot of like the 3D effects, as you said, and you were able to read the little stories.
Hindu followers welcome people of all faiths to visit and experience this spiritual place.
Hindus believe in a circular notion of time. It's not very linear. There isn't a final day or a judgment day. And what they believe is that you do well, you serve and love the divine through his or her creation, and if you do that right, you get a little bit closer to the divine.
This majestic temple was built by the worldwide religious and civic organization BAPS. Yogi Trivedi is a volunteer and a BAPS spokesperson. He explains what the statues of the deities represent to Hindus.
They don't believe that that is a symbol or a statue or an idol. They believe that God lives within. And that's why you'll see a glass of water left beside God. You'll see food left beside the images of God. You will see that at certain times of the day, the shrine closes so that God can rest.
The Great Mandir is a massive marble stone structure sitting on 126 acres in Robbinsville, Mercer County. It took 12 years to build, thanks to the help of 12,000 volunteers like Pooja Patel.
A lot of people are leaving so speechless after their experience. A lot of them haven't visited India before, but they feel like they're in India after coming here to the BAPS seminar in Akshardham.
Selfless service and devotion are core beliefs of followers of the Hindu faith. Volunteer Verinda Tucker remembers when this was just an empty lot.
What I thought it meant to me back then, it's just infinitely more now. Like now I can bring my daughter here and I can teach her about her culture. This isn't something that I had when I was growing up. It was difficult for my parents, and I love that I'm able to do that for my daughter.
The temple is made of hand-carved stones, shipped 8,000 miles from India to New Jersey. During a dedication ceremony, dignitaries from around the world arrived at the ashram campus, honoring the Hindu religion and paying tribute to Indian culture.
Please offer Akshardham to the world.
While the temple has now become a local tourist attraction with thousands visiting every day, it's also a very spiritual place. The faithful consider the temple a place to worship and a sacred house of God.
In Hinduism, we do believe in God. The universal values of oftentimes maybe a higher being or working to better yourself, that's something definitely that's embedded within Hinduism. Hinduism, to me, has been more of a lifestyle alongside the worship and the volunteering and the selfless service. It's really been a lifestyle of how I want to live my life.
ahead, I go one-on-one with the stars of The Chosen.
And I think that we can take away that love truly matters more.
The details behind this groundbreaking historical drama based on the life of Jesus.
I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you.
It's the biblical miniseries that has so many people hooked. The Chosen has more than 100 million viewers who watch it in 600 languages. A new season is about to drop. Here now from the stars.
I say to you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you.
Laura Silver plays the role of Eden in The Chosen. The popular streaming series tells the story of the life of Jesus Christ.
I think that we all can relate on a human level to some of the pain and some of the, the struggles that we go through in our life. And I think that we can take away that love truly matters more.
The production is a crowd-funded, streaming global sensation with more than 100 million viewers in countries all over the world. Creator Dallas Jenkins says the cast and crew have a unique relationship with fans. He thinks it's part of the appeal of the drama.
The Lord make his face shine on you.
When you watch season 4, you're going to see a few scenes where there's hundreds and hundreds of people on camera. Well, those people happen to be viewers of the show who had an opportunity to come. That's a big part of this, is crowdfunding. It's a big part of our relationship with our fans.
People must know.
Season 4 drops early next year.
This is where the story starts to really get real. I mean, we're heading towards Jerusalem. We're heading towards the conclusion of the story, which we all know has some darkness to it, but then, of course, some immense light. But as Jesus approaches, things get deep, things get more mature, and he starts to feel sad himself. Instead of just always comforting others, he's also needing to be comforted because he's seeing that the people around him aren't getting it.
Jenkins insists that you don't have to be a person of faith to enjoy The Chosen.
If you're a churchgoer or not, seeing the stories of Jesus, seeing the historical drama of this can impact you as well, or just be something that you enjoy like you enjoy anything else.
He says lessons learned in ancient times still resonate in our modern world.
There's hatred even and fear that's happening in New York. It's happening in Israel right now. It's happening all over the world. Well, the answer to that is the same now that it was 2,000 years ago. It's not about winning a war. It's not about dominating your oppressors. It's about surrendering your heart to someone who created you and cares about you. And that is more relevant now than ever.
Are you ready to do hard things? Yes. We will see. Follow me.
Next.
We keep stuff on hand for families that come to us that are like totally out of food.
From a Superman to a bishop with the right beat.
Let the children know there's more to life than just the streets.
They are men on a mission when this Fox 5 special, Finding Faith, returns.
If you've ever wondered if a real hero wears a cape, I can tell you firsthand they do. I met one in New Jersey.
We got a big donation of chicken cutlets and rotisserie chickens yesterday, 5 pallets, and because it's frozen and we don't have enough space for that, we had to distribute it right away.
Inside this enormous warehouse in Little Ferry, New Jersey, you'll find an ordinary man who some say possesses the powers of a superhero.
I give people hope, I guess, as Superman.
Phil Stafford, also known as Superman, voluntarily spends his days and nights gathering donated food from supermarkets and restaurants. He stocks and stores the supplies so he can feed hungry adults and families in New Jersey every week.
We keep stuff on hand for families that come to us that are like totally out of food.
Most Saturdays, rain or shine, people line up at the makeshift food pantry in the back parking lot of the Most Sacred Heart of Jesus Roman Catholic Church in Wallington, New Jersey. The church is part of the Archdiocese of Newark. Phil, aka Superman, does not consider himself religious. However, Father Timothy Graff says there's no doubt feeding the hungry is God's work.
Our faith calls us to take our faith in the Lord, our faith in the Scriptures, our faith in the church, and to say, how is it that I live this out each day?
Mary Mulligan is on government assistance, but she says she runs out of money and food before the end of every month. She says Superman's food pantry is a lifeline.
This is awesome. I can't even describe it. They come out, and they've been doing this for years. They come out all weather, and they call if there's an issue. They're so kind, and without their help, we would not get fresh food that we need, like I do, and my disabled daughter.
Before he reached superhero status, Phil found himself in need of help. He lost his home. It flooded during Hurricane Floyd. It became a turning point. He would eventually quit his job as a house painter and form a nonprofit called the New Jersey Food and Clothing Rescue.
It's really rewarding because I've been in that position myself and didn't get so much help. And that's part of what led me to doing this. So many people are struggling right now, and they are half a paycheck. It used to be a paycheck. Now it's half a paycheck away from being out on the street. And once you're out on the street, it's like a grinding machine. You can't get back on your feet. It's very difficult.
His selfless work has not only earned him the cape and the nickname, but the respect of those he serves and praise from the Archdiocese of Newark.
When you serve the poor, you're taking care of their immediate needs, but it's also an expression of your faith in God.
Now, finding faith at any age. Meet a bishop in the Bronx who's using rap to reach young Catholics.
I've tried to reach out to those that don't come to church.
You might say Bishop Joseph Espaillat uses some unique methods to reach the faithful.
How many more lives will violence claim? Just look at Biggie, Pac, and Jam Master Jay. Put down the guns of selling drugs.
You heard him. The 45-year-old auxiliary bishop for the Archdiocese of New York likes to rap.
Let the children know there's more to life than just the streets. It's what I grew up with. It's what I know. And so I just speak to the young people from what I know.
His passion sometimes disappointing to his superiors while he was studying at the seminary.
Who was knocking on your door and telling you to stop listening to rap music?
It was actually the priest who lived right in front of me.
The bishop sat down with me at St. Anthony of Padua Church in the Bronx.
Receive the gospel.
Just after the 45-year-old native New Yorker became the youngest Roman Catholic auxiliary bishop in the United States. Timothy Cardinal Dolan presided over the ordainment.
I'm not doing anything that Jesus himself wouldn't have done. Jesus reached out to the poor, to the oppressed, to the marginalized. And this is Pope Francis's message to the world.
He believes his mission is to help those living on the margins, something he sees too much of in his community. Many like him are Dominican. He celebrates Mass in both English and Spanish.
There's a lot of problems right now with depression and suicide, and that concerns me. There is a taboo amongst the Hispanic community, especially with mental health illness. You know, they don't like looking for help.
Bishop Espaillat also reaches out to his community with a popular podcast called Sainthood in the City. His group of hosts tackle real-life problems.
Yeah, what's good, y'all? Welcome to the Sainthood in the City podcast. Representing the real.
The bishop says how you spread God's message is not what's important, but what you say when you do it.
It's a means to try to relate to young people and to those who know that type of genre, to try to bring and draw them in. I always say rap is poetry in motion.
He says the secret to reaching those in need is pretty simple.
As long as you're real, you're authentic, and you're genuine, they will listen to you. And if you respect them and you listen to them and they feel like they're being genuinely listened to, you got them. Mom and Dad must make the home a really loving place. From the violence on the streets, we must not partake.
We hope you heard something to believe in, so when times get challenging, you can have a little hope. Until next time, I'm Sharon Crowley.